Okay, we're up after a little bit of technical difficulty. This is possibly, depending on where you see this class, it could be part 2 or it could just be, part of part 1, depending on, for those that this is part 2, we're talking again the shocking, real, true story of Dama, the son of Natina, that you were never taught in school. Moving right along, the book Avodah Brura on the Talmud tractate of Avodah Zarah, idol worshipping, page 25. He brings down this concept of Chesed Leumim Chatat, that of course is the verse in the book by King Solomon, Mishlei 1434. When the nations of the world do a positive, a commendable act, this causes a boomerang action of prosecution against the Jewish people, because of the fact that once the Gentiles, who are not the chosen people and were not given the law by God, not given the Torah by God, once they're the ones out there doing the good things and the Jewish people are lacking, we're not doing the right things, this causes a tremendous boomerang and punishment against the Jewish people due to the good things that the nations of the world are doing. So, the book Avodah Brura, he brings down this concept that when the nations of the world do positive actions, this causes an accusation against the Jewish people and many times leads in punishment of the Jewish people. He brings down a list of similar opinions. We'll see how wide-ranged this opinion stretches. So look at all the names here that I'm going to bring down now, which summarizes this opinion, that the real story, which we were never taught in kindergarten or first grade or elementary school, or or down the road, they never taught us this. This is really what's happening. This is the real story behind Dama, the son of Natina, and this is the story, basically. In our times especially, something that we have to be very, very careful of. So, we see that unfortunately, the nations of the world, or individuals of the nations of the world, many times take the lead. Instead of the Jewish people being the light and being the leaders of what's, of sacrificing and putting themselves on the line and saying the right things. We should be the Anita Bryants. We should be ones out there way before Anita Bryant, when she protests against the SS crowd, the same-sex marriage crowds. We should have been the ones out there saying this. So here's the list. Ktsot HaChoshen, first book. Second book, Divrei Shaul of Rabbi Natan Natanson. Chidushei Harim, 4. Zera Ephraim, 5. Mekor Chesed, 6. Hillel ben Shachar Zev Wolf. In his book, it's called Sefer Hillel ben Shachar, on page 46, he adds in an interesting line here. You know how sometimes you shoot yourself, you're your worst enemy? You know at times you're the worst enemies? So this fellow Dama, he really shoots himself in the leg. We said before that he himself expressed that he understood that the Jewish people were willing to pay astronomical amount of money, all the money in the world, in order to fulfill just one commandment of 613. So those were his words. There can be, you can't get a better lawyer than that. So he kind of shot the nations of the world in the foot, because he acknowledged the fact that the Jewish people are willing for any commandment, even commandments that go against our understanding and go against our IQ, we're willing to put out all the money in the world. And here's another angle by the book Hillel ben Shachar. He says, listen to what Dama said. Dama said that when the Jewish people offered him a tremendous amount of money for the red calf, he says, I don't want all that money, right? He says, I just want the money that you offered at the beginning when I suffered from not waking up my father. So listen to his words. It's an amazing thing. The guy, once in his life he does a good deed, and what does he say afterwards? Well, I just want money for the money that I lost for respecting my father, not waking him up. Buddy, you just put your foot in your mouth. You just shot yourself in the leg over there. So that's the addition of Hillel ben Shachar. Folks, if you thought, this to me is something that I never understood until I looked into the subject recently here. So this is a tremendous eye-opener. This is a tremendous wake-up call for all of us, for me, for everyone, all of us. This is really what's going on behind the story. And this story is a story of today. We have Jews running around looking, looking for, looking to, to assist and uplift the nations of the world and individuals, etc. And they don't know, they're shooting us in the foot over here. So, here's the clincher. We started off today by telling us that the Jewish people, the beginning of the story of Dama, was the Jewish people had lost the precious stone of the tribe of Benjamin, which was located on the breastplate. Who cares? Why is the Talmud going to the lengths to tell us they lost something, tell us they lost a stone? Why do they have to tell me it happened to be the stone of Benjamin? If the Talmud tells us the name of the tribe on that stone, which was unnecessary, tell us they lost one of the precious stones. Okay, it's enough. Who cares what the guy's name was? No, we do care. Listen to this, folks. Put on those seatbelts right now. In a tremendous Meshech Chochmah, Rabbi Meir of Dvinsk, in a tremendous work. Where is that? Where are you, Rabbi Meir? Here we go. In two places. In his classical work, Meshech Chochmah, the first place, which is more, it's expanded the idea. It's on his commentary to the portion Tetzaveh, chapter 28, verse 9. And in Deuteronomy, we're on the portion of the week of Vayet Chanan, 5:16. Listen to this idea. He tells us the principle. Here's the principle. That the breastplate of the high priest, what was the idea? The idea was to make sure that to assist the Jewish people in being lawful, going according to the law, and not taking advantage of people, so that there would be a judicial, true system. Like you go today in the courtrooms in Israel, you travel, I've been to a lot of them. You go and you see on the walls they have various verses of the prophets, but they're not going according to the Torah law. They're not going according to any Jewish law. They shouldn't have those verses up there at all. They are the antithesis of those verses. But the truth is that the breastplate of the high priest was to enforce and to encourage that the judicial system of the Torah be kept in an honest fashion, in a righteous fashion. The laws of the judges should be righteous decisions. And there shouldn't be, God forbid, people that were taken advantage of or cases which were not judged according to the truth. That's what it represented. So then the Meshech Chochmah, in his commentary, says an unbelievable thing. He says, you know why they lost that stone? You know why the Talmud tells us that they lost that stone of Benjamin? Because Benjamin is part of the 12 tribes. And you know what sin they have, the 12 tribes? Besides for Benjamin? All the tribes were responsible, including Joseph. Joseph was sold. Right, Joseph was sold because the fact that he is an accomplice to the fact that he was sold. Why? Because he had a lot of mistakes. He would speak badly about his brothers. He would take the actions of his brothers, and instead of talking to them about it, instead of confronting them, he went to his father. And if you have an issue, first you have a responsibility to go to the person themselves. Don't get other people involved. Unless you tried, didn't work, then get others involved. So this is unbelievable. So what can be more antithesis to righteousness, to judicial righteousness, than the selling of Joseph? By who? None of his brothers. I mean, what's going on over here? There could be nothing, no greater sin against justice than selling Joseph down the tubes. There was, however, one brother that did not get involved, that refused to be involved in the selling of Joseph, and that was Benjamin. That was Benjamin. He was the only brother that was clean. And that why, by the way, that's why the temple in Jerusalem is built in the section that the tribe of in the inheritance of Benjamin, because of the fact that he was clean on this issue. He did not have a hand in selling his brother down the river. So this is an amazing thing. So the Meshech Chochmah, in his commentary, says that's why the Talmud is telling us. Why? Because the Jewish people were lacking in the commandment of honoring one's parents, because no one gave a damn about Father Jacob. Jacob, the father of all these boys, he's suffering because of the fact of what his sons did, and nobody cares. So do you have a greater sin, transgression against the commandment of honoring one's parents than what was done to Jacob by his own sons? There is no greater sin of not honoring one's parents, what was done to Jacob. So therefore, the Jewish people are sent to where? To Dama the son of Netina, to be taught what lesson? The lesson of honoring one's parents. Woo, yeah. I mean, this is prophetic. This is a Meshech Chochmah that you gotta kiss him. It's unbelievable. It's a wake-up call. Your brothers, why are you missing? You could have been missing any of those stones, but the stone of Benjamin, because he was the only one that had respect for his father and did not want to get involved with the selling of his brother. He was the only one that was clean on that slate of not having been accomplice to the transgression, to the crime. So this is an amazing thing, folks. And I'm just going to close it off over here. I'm going to add this, because this is our track. Let's take the story from the beginning. Why in the world is this story? We said that when a non-Jew does an act of kindness, it creates a boomerang against the Jewish people, causes a boomerang effect of prosecution against, an accusation against the Jewish people. Where in the world are you standing? Why aren't you out in the front lines? So think about this unbelievable idea. For generations and generations, the Jewish people suffered for a lack of the commandment of honoring one's parents because of the fact of what the 11 tribes did, including Joseph, as we mentioned. He's an accomplice. And this accusation against the Jewish people, this shortcoming of the Jewish people, is going on and on and on. And therefore, it's time to end it. So which stone is lost? Benjamin's stone. What's the Benjamin stone? Benjamin's stone is to wake up and stop the accusation against the Jewish people when it comes to honoring one's parents. So Hashem, God has it worked out over here. It's a 1-2 punch. The accusation is going on for generations. And then we lose the Benjamin stone. And then we understand that there must be some kind of prosecution against the Jewish people when it comes to honoring one's parents. And that's why we're missing the stone of Benjamin, the only one that honored his parents. He's missing because we're missing. We are lacking in the commandment of honoring one's parents. And that's why we're lacking his stone. So the way that God works it out, the Jewish people are sent to the house of Dama, and they get a wake-up call of what it means to understand that it's not for nothing that the stone of Benjamin was lost. It's a wake-up call to improve ourselves. Number one, with the commandment of honoring one's parents. So that's number one issue. And the second issue, in order for us to close and silence the accusation against the Jewish people, it's not enough that the Jewish people will sacrifice for a commandment like honoring one's parents, which is a commandment which any kid, a person with a P in his brain can understand. We're going to need a lot more because we have generations of this that is causing, a prosecution against the Jewish people. So we need much more than this. We have to go to the extreme. We have to go to the extreme, and the most extreme commandment that goes against a person's understanding and knowledge and brain and IQ and understanding is the commandment of the red calf, which goes against intellect. And therefore, once the Jewish people showed that they were willing to put any amount of money down for one of God's 613 commandments, that was the 1-2 punch of Dama, the son of Natina. One, the first wake-up call to realize what the Jewish people were lacking was the commandment of honoring one's parents, which was a boomerang for us for all those generations since the time of Joseph and his brothers and Jacob, the father. And number two, to understand in order for us to not receive punishment because of good acts of kindness and commendable acts by the nations of the world, the Jewish people have to have a tremendous amount of self-sacrifice. They have to be the ones on the line sacrificing themselves and showing the way for the entire world. If not, then there's tremendous accusation and punishment, God forbid, that can affect the Jewish people. Have a great week.